this out news. We connect the streets. Connect the streets. Connect the streets. Connect the streets. Connect the streets.
Each and every week, you know how it goes down. Another edition of Check This Out News. Oh, say the dark secret here. And I got the big homie Mike Johns on the line. Mike, let's get to it. What's happening?
Man, we got a lot going on in the world of technology this week. And I'm going to first start off with Hurricane Harvey. As you know, this is a real devastating affair under the Trump administration. This is probably his first natural disaster. It's been very interesting. Interesting really because we got a chance to see how technology is coming in and helping the matter. So this is the first time in which insurance companies are now using drone technology to actually assess damage in the wake of the tropical storm Harvey. This marks the first time in U.S. history that unmanned aircraft are used to size up catastrophic claims. So think of 9/11 and other disasters that have happened. They never actually used drone technology to assess the matter and provide some insight. This is the first of its kind. Hurricane Harvey has already caused over $20 billion in insurance damage. I like to speak on this particular subject, drone operators, because as we've covered in weeks past, future economies or new economies, Travelers Insurance, they've actually implemented 24 drones ready to be used in Texas. 200 of their employees are already certified by the FAA to be drone pilots. Allstate Insurance, they've actually contracted hundreds of drone flights a day, thousands per week, used on a contractual basis. They've been at the forefront in doing this, not only in Texas, but they've done this in 3 other states. Farmers Insurance, they have 7 drones available for use in Texas and 14 adjusters who are actually trained to use them. So adjusters are finding out that using drones, they can inspect homes, 3 homes, in 1 hour versus what that's been in the past. So you talk about efficiency, you talk about the ability to assess the matter with the latest in technology. Drones and being a drone operator makes for that future economy, and this is why this is headline news, because we've talked in the past in terms of drones and how they're being used, but there's a new wave of jobs to be taken advantage of, and I encourage all of our listeners to get involved in that because that's the future economy, drones.
Very strong right there. Moving forward, what's going on with Ford Motors and Domino's Pizza?
Last week we talked about Lyft and Taco Bell. Well, Ford and Domino's really raised the bar, and Michigan will be the new test ground for the Ford and Domino's experiment. I'll call it that. The company will measure customers' reactions to having pizzas delivered by self-driving vehicles. And FYI, this is not the first experiment of its kind with advanced pizza delivery systems. Australian-based Domino's Pizza have actually tested deliveries using drones in New Zealand. In a blog post, Ford plans to cooperate with multiple partners in delivering self-driverless cars, goods, and services. And this is great, also a part of that new economy in which we're going to be seeing driverless cars making deliveries. And this is not true door-to-door service, but at least the car will stop in front of your house. You go out the house and you pay, and you get your pizza.
Boy, technology is something else. Interesting to see that they're doing this out of Michigan, both for Ford as well as Domino's being based in Michigan. It's definitely a new creative way, I would say, of cross-marketing and them joining forces. Detroit was going through a rough period quite some time ago. Moving it forward, job board for folks who smoke that good.
The weed.
Yeah, man, this is crazy, but I got to give a special shout out to this 24-year-old female entrepreneur in Denver, Kirsten Hamilton. We'll get to her. We're going to actually be interviewing her in the coming weeks, but major shout out to her. The cannabis industry is expected to be a $7 billion gain by the 2020. Legal weed now employs over 120 people, a figure that is expected to triple within the next 5 years. This according to new research firm New Frontier Data. Their website is called Bamster. So think of Monster.com and any of the other job boards where you go to for seeking employment. This is actually specializing in those who are into cannabis. From weed dispensaries, farms, and tech software companies, they're now having a new platform to post jobs. That's crazy. Most cannabis jobs are entry level to top level, and their price range is actually comparable with normal non-cannabis jobs. However, in the cannabis industry, being that it's pretty much a startup industry, a lot of the employers are offering equity in the business, which is separate from your traditional businesses that are out there. So I got a major shout out to Carson is her name, and the company, again, is called Vangster.com, Vangster, a digital job platform just launched last week. They already have over 100 posts for specific jobs, salary gigs, most of them management roles, distribution, and working at management facilities. So shouts out to her, staying cutting edge.
Boy, managing that smoke. Not mad at that. Let's talk about VR, man, and porn.
Well, I know that, porn is one of your favorite subjects, so I figured this would be a great one to cover. When we look at porn, it's one of the oldest professions or oldest industries in human culture. It was also the first to embrace technology, but at the same time, it's also been a victim of technology thanks to the internet and pirating content. VR is coming in as the new savior. It's difficult to pirate. On top of that, it provides an immersive experience. You're not just watching, you're actually a participant. And what's really interesting is that younger folks, 18 to 35 males, are very much in loving and driving traffic to sites like Pornhub, who reported that they've seen a 300% increase in usage on the VR side. And then for women, there's also a rise thanks to virtual sexuality, which is the new platform for women in their exploration of sex in this VR world. So it's interesting times. The ability to be with who you want, regardless of skin color, size, body type, makes it very attractive. And what I'd like to even point out is that it's one of the most, how should I say it? It becomes a safety platform for trying out new behaviors, roles, subjectives that one may not feel comfortable with in real life. So basically what we're seeing is how virtual reality is actually changing and redefining sex as we know it.
All right, sex being redefined, and so are a whole lot of things with the advent of technology. Military drones are supposed to replace police helicopters, so it means the chopper is going to be chasing you. Instead of the chopper, it's going to be a drone, Mike?
Man, well, the FAA is working with the private sector and updating the rules regarding unmanned flight, and drones is what we're talking about here. Two particular topics that come up is distance and endurance. The typical drone runs off a battery, whereas large U.S. drones could fly for 23 hours, if not more. The endurance is another factor here where, again, the smaller they are, the drones can be vastly improved thanks to the latest in technology that the military has to offer. And then going even further, you're looking at the drones in San Diego, for example, where wildfires are happening. The drones are able to anticipate next moves as well as the next hotspot. Putting cops in choppers can be dangerous, right? And we've seen this as evidence of the two recent Virginia State Police who were monitoring the civil unrest in Charlottesville actually crashed. By 2025, that should gradually be a thing of the past, and we're basically replacing pilot helicopters with drones. And why not? It's safer, and the drones can do just about anything, whether they have guns on them to the equipment to have facial recognition. Drones can do just what man can't do, and they're safer and can be most efficient.
So let me ask you something, Mike. These drones are actually equipped with some type of intelligence that almost makes them operate like robots. Is that accurate?
That's exactly correct. So when you're adding the facial recognition to it, the ability to fire at will as needed, I mean, those are some powerful pieces of tech that's being added to the drone in its policing and its surveillance and its access to whatever. So drones is really the future. There's so much that could be done with them, and we're actually seeing how right now in the military, using the military who's always at the forefront of technology, and seeing how that tech is being integrated into our police force. And this is already, we're seeing signs of this is already being tested in London and other parts of the globe, but it will make its way to the U.S., and it'll be the new way of policing.
Interesting to know, too, I know that there was some talk in recent news reports of Donald Trump allowing police across the country to use or utilize more military-inspired gear, technology, etc. So big news right there. Now it's time to smile. Okay, what's KFC in China doing?
It's interesting. Yum China, a spinoff from Yum Brands here in the U.S., is really revving up for growth, and they're very much targeting young adults. These young, tech-savvy, multicultural professionals is really who they're now really starting to target. And you got to realize that China is the number one biggest economy for the fast food industry. So this is a very big deal for the Yum operation. And what they've created is basically by scanning their face at an order kiosk and entering in a phone number, you're now able to place your order under their new Smile and Pay program. And again, as I mentioned, entering their phone number is a safeguard against people cheating the system. This combined with the new 3D camera, liveness detection algorithms, the Smile to Pay will be the new shit. I'm just going to say that. I mean, that's going to make its way to the U.S. And we're already in the land of selfies. So imagine just taking a photo, entering your phone number, and now being able to make a payment. So what we're seeing taking place on a trial run there in China ultimately will make its way, and that's why you're getting it here first at Check This Out News.
Oh! Smile for chicken. A lot of folks will be doing that. I guess it's time to bring in the big homie, Christian Henley. What up, Christian? Get some entertainment, some other things that'll make us smile just a little bit more.
Yes. Hello, Check This Out News.
What's going on with you, Christian? How's everything?
It's going well. There's a lot going on as always, so I'm excited to share.
Please do. Tell me about this thing with the MTV Video Music Awards.
Yes. So basically, Big Data gives lowest rating to the MTV VMAs this year. Basically, the MTV Music Awards have just experienced a huge rating slump. According to Big Data, they've just completely had a drop, and this has been the lowest rating they've had in history, or at least since 1994 when Nelson started measuring the show. It's interesting because as I kept doing more research about this, MTV and VMAs are not the only award show that is experiencing this as well. I mean, from BET, Billboard, the Oscars, even in the Academy field, they're all experiencing this drop. And I was just thinking, what could be fueling this? And I honestly, it drew me back to kind of the same thing that the magazine industry went through as well. Before, we had to wait to see our stars, what they wore, what they were doing. You had to go and watch TV and tune in at a certain time to get to see your favorite people on this most glamorous night. Now, I can open up my cell phone, go to Snapchat, go see what everybody had on, go to Instagram, and get live, maybe if not better footage than what the show is actually showing. So I think it's a crazy new way that technology has changed the idea of stardom and what it means to be famous, because now everybody's kind of famous and everyone's a star, but it doesn't work in the same way because now, you don't get to cling to those people that you only got to see maybe once or twice a year at this big award show.
Interesting. Now, I know Master P has been in the news a whole lot with Hurricane Harvey. Tell me a little bit more about what's going on with him.
Yeah. Kind of speaking of social media, Master P has been he's been making his waves and keeping his name alive. I'm, first of all, a huge fan of Master P and his empire and just all the things that he's done. But, it's a new day and age, and you got to keep yourself going. So he's been using social media to kind of get his name out there. He's talking to Kodak Black about, possibly being a mentor for him, and that kind of having some, I don't know, they didn't really mesh maybe, or, his commentary on Kevin Hart's Hurricane Harvey challenge. So, I think that he's definitely using social media as a way to get his voice out and his opinion. But recently, in the latest post where he was dispelling the affair rumors with him and Tiny, he said himself that social media can be a blessing and a curse.
True.
And I'm a strong believer of that.
Interesting. Well, speaking of a blessing and